How important is it for them to be techie and be the ones that are doing all the installations?
Yeah, zero, right? We prefer it to be that way, Tim, because I don't want them to come in with any preconceived notions like, oh, I've done this in the past, or I'm an electrician, or, I've done lighting. We have a system, we have a process in place, and it works.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Fran Coach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of Fran Coach and your podcast host. Today, we are going to welcome in one of our franchise partners. It is a home service franchise that touches on what we refer to as an enhanced brand, but also crosses over to a maintain category as well. Not many franchises do this, so it's going to give you additional chances for revenue streams. It has a strong B2C focus, but there's also potential for huge B2B projects as well. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, before we get to this franchise to shine some light on them, let's remind everybody of who we are. And Fran Coach is a national search firm dedicated to working with individuals like yourself who are interested in owning a franchise. We are partnered with over 600 franchises spanning nearly 70 different industries. Our number one goal is to help properly educate people on franchise ownership to determine if this is the right path for them. And if so, goal number two is to help find the absolute best franchise for them to own. And the goal of our podcast is, as always, to just simply educate you on all aspects of franchise ownership. All right, so that's a bit about us. Now let's get to our guest. And joining us today is the brand president for our featured franchise, which is Outdoor Lighting Perspectives, which is a mouthful. So I'm going to just say OLP. So joining us today from OLP is Mr. Rich Young. Rich, thanks for joining us today.
You got it. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
We are excited. This promises to be an illuminating podcast, so there's no way I wasn't gonna bust that one out at some point. So, want to hear all about OLP and what the heck OLP does, which I'm gonna guess is something lighting related on the outdoors.
Right.
But franchising is all about people, so I love hearing stories and. Just start with you, man. How did you get into this crazy world that is franchising?
Crazy is right. I started out in the retail world, gosh, probably in 1995, working for Montgomery Ward, if I'm sort of dating myself, right? Um, and so I went to school for criminal justice and was doing loss prevention for Montgomery Ward, then moved on to Target and finished at Home Depot at district and regional levels, where I was overseeing stores. And then I got a call one day from Scott Zide, our CEO of Empower Brands. And Scott and I had a friendship through our wives. And the wives thought, well, maybe might be a good idea for Rich to consider making a career move. And I was ready at that point, ready to get out of retail. So I made the decision in 2006 to connect with Outdoor Lighting Perspectives. And my wife and I lived in Southern California at the time, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where OLP was founded. And I started in a franchise support role. And learned a lot about franchising, learned a lot about lighting, which I knew nothing about. And here we are 18 years later, in me in this role as the brand president and loving it and loving the growth of the brand and just having a lot of fun.
So I always love the stories because there's some version of kind of like dumb luck, right? There's not a lot of intent of you woke up one morning and said, "Hey, I need to get into the world of franchising and lighting as my pathway," right? It just kind of happens. And then again, once you're in, franchising is like the mob. Once you're in, you can't get out. Only with this, we don't want to get out, and we kill people usually less often than in
Right.
than there. So OLP, Outdoor Lighting Perspectives. Lots of questions I have about obviously the business model, the owners, how we build all this stuff out. But we'll talk a little bit about the product, the services, who the customer is, because it's a really wide range of things. So walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, you got it. So we're the leading provider of really innovative and energy efficient landscape lighting solutions. We're North America's largest full service company. So our goal, Tim, is really to create beautiful and functional spaces that enhance the lives of our clients. Um, we've been doing it for 20, we're coming up on our 26th year. And it's a full service approach. We design it, we install it, and we service it. And I think the other important thing to point out is that's all we do is lighting, right? We don't mow lawns, we don't fertilize, we don't build decks like some of our internal partners do some of those things. So I think the fact that we specialize in landscape and architectural lighting is something that is a differentiator for us. Beyond the landscape lighting, we also do holiday lighting. So we'll come out, it's again, full service approach where we put it up, we take it down, and we store it for the client every year. The neat thing about that, Tim, is it creates a recurring revenue stream for the franchisee with the put up, take down, and storage every year. And then, with landscape, it's not only a residential approach, but it's also a commercial approach. And we've developed some great partnerships with different associations, such as the Private Club Association, the ALP, which is the Association of Lodging Professionals. So we target bed and breakfast, we target boutique hotels. Property managers are big for us. HOAs, going after common areas, going after entrances. Vacation Rental Management Association is something we're also involved in. So from a commercial and hospitality standpoint, we attack that as well, besides residential. And the neat thing about all this, Tim, it's all low voltage, right? You don't need to be a licensed electrician. You don't need to bring in an electrician to do this stuff. We can train and teach all of the franchisees how to do this in our 8-day training program in Richmond.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it's when I first got introduced to OLP, however many years ago, what the phrase was like, it was like, oh, even you can learn how to do this. I'm like, well, back up, maybe not me, but like my 10-year-old probably would be better at it than me. But it is really simplistic. You don't need all the electrical contractor things, and so it is easy to do that. Which kind of leads into that owner role. You mentioned yourself coming over, no lighting experience,
Right.
right? And you're the brand president. Franchisees, how important is it for them to have experience with lighting? How important is it for them to be techie and be the ones that are doing all the installations?
Yeah, zero, right? We prefer it to be that way, Tim, because I don't want them to come in with any preconceived notions like, oh, I've done this in the past, or I'm an electrician, or I've done lighting. We have a system, we have a process in place, and it works. And when you bring in the folks that have that type of experience, they have the set mind, this mind frame where they're like, I'm going to do it my way. And in my 18 years here, I think we've only brought on one electrician. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But outside of that, we bring in engineers, we bring in marketing guys, we bring in sales guys, and we can teach them all. And it shows in the success of the brand, based on the support, I think, and the training that we provide them, how well they can do with this.
What do owners do then if they're not out there? They're not out at my house installing the lights. What's a day in the life look like? I know it's a really wide range, so I'm kind of like throwing you a loaded question, but I'm also sure there's some similarities day in day out for an owner. What's that look like?
100%. I think when I think about an owner, the first thing they do is get in the morning, right? And they meet with their field team, right? Discuss any installations or service calls for the day, any nuances, any design questions. From there, they jump into our CRM, and they're probably developing new proposals for bids that they recently went on, maybe following up on any open proposals, reviewing receivables, and then probably looking at the upcoming pipeline for the next few weeks or months. From there, ensuring inventory is stocked properly, do any ordering through our online ordering site, respond to emails, return calls, perhaps review probably weekly your marketing plan to make sure that's on track. Um, maybe even attend a networking event once or twice a week, whether that's a networking event with a local chamber of commerce or anything where you can get the brand out there and start developing referrals. And then last, I think daytime consultations. We built the brand, Tim, on the nighttime demo. That's how we sell lights. That's sort of the cornerstone of our sales process. But often we have franchisees that do a daytime consultation. So they'll go out and meet with the homeowner, walk the property, talk about the design, and then from there put a proposal together and then send it off. So that's really the day in a life of a franchisee.
Yeah. And I know you're going to talk probably a little bit about this too, but the OLP is part of Empower Brands, and we had Scott Zeit on a month or so back just talking about overall Empower and how amazing it is and the marketing and all the things that are going to be in place to basically make the phone ring for owners. But as an owner, I don't care what franchise, you don't just kick back and wait for the phone to ring all day. You got to get out and go connect, networking. I think home service realtors are the best referral sources on the planet, property managers, yes. Right? All of those things just make friends, right? But the customer piece, right? Because there's always going to be somebody that's going to go, oh, why would they pay, right? Because OLP is not going to be the cheapest, right? If you want cheap, you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you buy some lights and you go out in the backyard, you try to do it yourself. But the quality difference is, like, no pun intended, night and day with this, right? So that demo, the night demo, and I had an opportunity to see that years ago, was literally like eye-opening, where you're like, no, my lights are good, everything is fine. And then you guys come out and you do the thing and you're like, oh, like we could land a plane here now if we needed to, right? Versus, and then you see everybody else in the neighborhood where it's like a black hole, essentially, where they are, right? So talk a little bit kind of that demo piece, and then the quality of why somebody as a customer, so an owner can think, why is somebody going to buy from me versus just running down the street to the orange building and getting some stuff and coming back. Hey everyone, I want to take a moment to spotlight one of our premier franchise partners, Outdoor Lighting Perspectives, or OLP. OLP is an exciting opportunity under the Empower Brands umbrella. It excels at giving owners a leg up in a niche market as they specialize in the design, installation, and service for landscape and architectural lighting systems. With services for residential and commercial customers, OLP reaches a wide range of consumers, and they've even expanded its client base by adding holiday lighting to its suite of services. OLP is the largest exterior lighting franchise in North America, and their franchisees love the opportunity to build a business that has multiple revenue streams and allows them to create lasting customer relationships. An OLP owner won't be spending their day installing lights. No, what you're going to be doing as an OLP owner is you're going to be in a leadership role, going to be building your team, consulting with your customers, and creating great relationships in the community. Sounds pretty amazing, right? Well, if you'd like to learn more about how OLP could be your perfect match, reach out to us today so we can help you create your better tomorrow. Hey everyone, I wanted to take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about our amazing friends at Entrepreneur. If you're looking to become a franchisee or simply learn more about business ownership, and guys, let's be honest, you're listening to the Franchising 101 podcast, so we know you have some interest in this. And I really encourage you to go to entrepreneur.com to check out all of their great content and resources. Seriously, Entrepreneur has everything, all the way from a bookstore to the best podcasts, webinars, and videos, plus information on upcoming events and the latest articles that seriously, they cover all aspects of franchising and business ownership. If you're having trouble deciding which franchise is right for you, start with Entrepreneur's renowned Franchise 500 ranking, which highlights the best franchises of 2022. For 45 years and counting now, Entrepreneur has been and continues to be the most widely recognized and respected authority in the franchise market. Digital and print subscriptions are available, so you never miss out on anything. So seriously, what are you waiting for? Go to entrepreneur.com right now and learn more.
Yeah, so just starting with your first question, Tim, the demo, right? Again, I mentioned it earlier. It's the cornerstone of the sales process. So we go out there, or our franchisees go out there with a demonstration kit. It's about 20 fixtures. It's primarily uplights. They're all wireless LED fixtures. So the homeowner gets to see exactly what their home would look like or landscape, whatever we're lighting, before they buy, right? So the franchisee or the salesperson is on property with them. They're moving lights around, they're taking lights away, they're adding lights. And that's, for the homeowner to see it before they buy, that is a differentiator in itself. Most of our competitors don't offer that. And it's something that will stand by and it works. And guys will sell more lights at night with that. When you think about, you mentioned big box, right? We're not targeting those clients. We're not targeting do-it-yourselfers. We're targeting do-it-for-me type folks. So an affluent homeowner that probably has something in the range of 3,500 square feet and up, household income of 150K plus, Gen X, baby boomers, that's our sweet spot. And that's what we target from a marketing standpoint.
Gotcha. Then what do we need? So we've got an owner, right? They're going to be probably, doing some of the consultations, connecting the community, overseeing the team. Talk about the team. I think number one is who do we need? How do we find them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what do we need? What kind of stuff, location, all of that? What's that look like?
Sure. Team wise, that's great, right? Starting out, you don't need a huge team. You need a technician, an installer, right? You don't need an administrator at this point. We have a service that will answer the calls for you. So no need for an administrator until you start scaling. So you get that solid installer that can go out there and typically generate 250 to 300,000 if they're efficient in the field. So you need an installer, you need a van, you need a storage unit, right? Some guys will rent a storage unit to keep their inventory in. They'll keep their van there. So it's a locked storage unit. The franchisee will meet the technician there in the morning, load the truck up, talk about the day. They're off and running. Some franchisees work out of their home. They'll use their garage as a storage area, and if possible, keep the van there. So, from a startup standpoint, it's a little bit of inventory. It's a van, it's a storage facility and some marketing, and you're off and running with the overall investment being, anywhere between 150 to 200K to get into this business.
Yeah, no, it's super, super low overhead. And I always appreciate, I think, all of the brands that empower do a very good job of kind of padding like what people need. So nobody's coming in cheap, right? We're
Right.
not cheaping on labor. We're not being cheap on marketing right off the bat, which I think is key to get this going. And these are, and this off the top of my head, I'm going to say $4,000 or $5,000 average projects residential. Is that in
Yeah.
the ballpark, right?
45. Yep.
Okay. So we've got a nice ticket project, right? And then you talked about the recurring of the holiday lights, which is growing into a massive industry. We all want to be Clark Griswold now. So we've got that. And then there's some maintenance things as well that can kind of get worked in from a recurring standpoint. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, Tim, if you were to look at the makeup of the business model, I would say it's 80% landscape lighting, right, which includes commercial and residential. And then you have, probably 15% holiday, and then another five in sort of that hospitality arena, right? Um, and then from a service standpoint, we have our Shine 365 program where it's an annual maintenance program where we come out annually. We do a 10-point inspection on the system where we're cleaning lenses and moving fixtures and readjusting and checking voltages in the transformer. And for us, it's, we're educating the homeowner that LED is low maintenance. It's not no maintenance. I think people have this thing in their mind like, oh, I don't need you guys. These bulbs are going to last for 15, 20 years.
Right.
And that's true, but the integrity of the design changes over time because of landscapers, soccer balls, kids, bicycles, dogs, and those fixtures move and the design changes. So we set up this recurring program with service where we get back on the property annually, which is called our Shine 365, and we make those adjustments. But it also gives our technicians and franchisees the opportunity to upsell, right? We can go there, we can talk to the client about additional fixtures. Hey, I see you're putting a pool in, Tim. Have you thought about lighting around your pool? Have you thought about holiday lighting? So for us, it's really just a way to get back on the property and have those conversations with the homeowner.
Yeah, and I think for what people don't always realize when they start looking at a home service is the wrapped vehicle
Mhm.
is a mobile billboard, right?
Yes.
And just one more excuse to park that in a nice neighborhood. We got to keep up with the Joneses. Hey, my lights don't look as good as, Rich's over there. Oh, look, there's a OLP. What is that, right? And what's always like, and I'm sure you're like this, like my wife and I drive around like wherever we are, it's like, you can be going like 80 miles an hour down the interstate and going the other way. There's a wrap van, and I'm gonna go, hey, there was right. Like
Right.
you just see those, and then now having those in the community constantly, and again, it's not Billy Bob and the beat up pickup truck. This is a good looking wrapped vehicle, just higher level professionalism. All those things to just keep the stickiness with the customer, and then oh, look, there's the van parked down the street, and you're going to get more people from it. So, um, tell us, like, probably one other thing that I want to think about that is seasonality.
Right.
So, because there's going to be somebody in a northern state that's going to go, yeah, that's not going to work in my area, Rich. It's cold here. It's snowing. Yeah. So, and I know every time people say that when you're on the phone with them or I'm on the phone with them, like they can't see my face because I'm muting the phone as I chuckle, right? Because I know like what you're going to say. But walk us through the seasonality piece for OLP, and is there any difference in an owner in Florida versus an owner in, say, Pennsylvania?
Yeah, slight, right? Slight difference, Tim, because you're dealing with inclement weather as you get farther north, but when I look at in our top 10 locations out of the 89 that we have, four of them are in the Northeast,
Yeah.
right? So, Long Island, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, um, those guys, DC, those guys are strong business owners. George Council up in
Yes.
Philly. So, yes, there is a seasonality part of it, but if you attack holiday, that's going to get you through those months where it's icy and snowy and really you're down for maybe January and February, which are great times to plan, right? You can plan for your upcoming spring home show, start planning for marketing. So you're really, maybe 2 months you're out, and then things kick off in March, as spring starts to break. So it's not a disadvantage. The other thing I will tell you, Tim, is we rolled out a new product this 2 years ago called Gemstone Permanent Lighting. So think of track lighting underneath the eaves or the roof line of your home that's color changing. That can be put up year round. There,
Okay.
you don't have to worry about frozen ground and not putting fixtures in the ground. This low voltage approach with this track lighting is sort of the latest and greatest when it comes to lighting homes. And we're sort of on the cutting edge and forefront with this company out of Calgary, Canada. In fact, we were up 400% with that product this year. So
Oh, wow.
it's becoming a differentiator for us to offer another solution for our homeowners, but also helps with that seasonality issue as well.
Yeah. And again, you could be in, if I'm in Philadelphia and it's January and it's 10 degrees and it's snowing or whatever, you might still like be able to still get out and do a consultation, still get out and
Sure.
network and do all of those things, right? So, and
Mhm.
I think the other thing, having lived half my life in the South and half my life in the crappy northern Midwest where it snows and is ucky all the time. There is a premium on being outside in the north that you don't necessarily have in the South. So having everything look good, um, because you just have a shorter window of time you can get out there and enjoy it. I think that always kind of factors in for things that are quote seasonal in the north, but there's also a little bit more of a premium for it. So I don't know if you've seen
100%.
that with you guys too, but tell us a little bit about Empower Brands. And again, we had Scott on a while back, but how that helps OLP owners just from the like I'm sure there's a million different ways it helps from all the internal support, the sister brands. And again, I think there's you said 11
Mhm.
total franchises now. I think nine of them, correct me if I'm wrong, or touch on the residential side. I think there's two that are more B2B, right? But talk a little bit about the power of Empower, if you will, and how that's going to help your owners.
Yeah, so with Empower, you have shared services right now with all 11 brands. So we have a shared service marketing team, we have IT, you have dedicated support by brand with our franchise business coaches. So leveraging that, leveraging the business administration side of it. We have a team for that. We have our own internal legal team that we can tap into as well for answers or questions if franchisees run into issues there. So leveraging that, I think, is huge for any franchisee that comes into the system. And then the thing that we are working on is how do we connect the local franchisees that are the other service brands and exchanging referrals back and forth.
Right.
And one initiative that my team has with our conserva irrigation franchisee this year is to bring the brands together at the annual meeting and talk about how these partnerships are working locally, because irrigation guys do get questions about lighting. Our guys get questions about irrigation. Why not exchange referrals? Why not cross market together, exchange clients back and forth? So for us, that is a real opportunity across all of Empower. And we're putting together solutions for that. And like I said, we're starting out with Conserva this year, and that'll spread across all of Empower as we continue to grow. But it's low hanging fruit, right? These
Right.
people love us, and why not continue to go after them?
Yeah, no, and I think that's awesome, and it's the, if nothing else, like that should be your new bestie, whoever that
Yeah.
owner is, right? Because maybe whoever was first there, they're already going to have some of those networking connections. They can introduce you. It just makes it so much easier to come in and grow because you have the same kind of parent company and Empower. You know the same systems. And again, when you become a franchise owner like it's not all rainbows and unicorns, man. There's some days where like
Yeah.
it's hard work, and if you've got somebody else to kind of like, because your corporate friends aren't going to want to talk to you anymore because they're not going to get what you're doing. You all of a sudden you got a new bestie right there locally that's in that same kind of same
Mhm.
system and a lot of synergy. To me, like that would be like my first be like, dude, let's go. Let me buy you lunch. I'm
Right.
new. It's going to be a cheap lunch, but a year from now,
Right.
I'll take you out to a nicer one, and we'll both like dominate this whole market together. So, um, super cool. I want to be respectful of your time because I know you're busy, and thank you for all of this. But I'll fire one last question at you. What else would you want to share with us about OLP that maybe we didn't already talk about?
I think the support, Tim, you know, my goal as the brand president is to make sure that the franchisees come first. And my team understands that and they know that. And I think it's reflective in the feedback that we get from our franchisees through confidential surveys that we do through a third party. And it's forefront in our mind, right? We can't survive if the franchisees don't do well. So it's
Right.
our responsibility as a support team to make sure that we're responding fast, we're supporting correctly, we're identifying solutions, we're looking at new initiatives. So I think the support, the 8-day training we have here in Richmond, all of the tools that we provide the franchisees, it's what allows the franchisees to get off to a fast start and be profitable very quickly.
Yeah. I always appreciate, I don't care what Empower brand it is. I think there's just a genuineness to making sure that from your standpoint, you're finding the right person that one
Mhm.
can do like, can run the business, but is also the right person for your team and your brands right across all of them. And I think with in franchising, the whole point of the franchises, they're going to have support for you, right? And there's franchises, we're going to train you and support you. And then there are franchises that are going to train you and support you, but we'll show up at your damn doorstep if we need to. And I always
Right,
appreciate you guys are the latter, right? Hopefully the support and training is good enough that you don't have to, but
right.
they're not just out there on an island. You mentioned having even just having a business coach, right? And
Yep.
having somebody that, again, it's training is one thing, business coach in the field and the day in the life and all of those things, that's a totally different thing. So just the fact that you've built the infrastructure to have those additional pieces and just really honestly, I don't know how to better say it, but actually give a damn about your owners as human beings and then help them be successful is just as good as it gets in franchising. So I always want to make sure I kind of point that out when we're lucky enough to have an Empower brand on because I know that is going to be the case.
Yeah, thank you for that. No, it's, people invest a lot of time, a lot of money, and it's a risk, right? And if we're not there to help them see their goals and their dreams through, then we shouldn't be in this business. And
Yeah.
and we take great pride in that.
Yeah. No, I love it. Rich, I greatly appreciate you coming on and joining us today, and yeah, and again kind of sharing everything about OLP and a little bit more on Empower Brand. So thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks as always to all of you, our loyal podcast listeners. We hope the Franchising 101 podcast continues to provide insight into the amazing possibilities that can be achieved as a franchise owner. Find us online, all of our social media accounts, francoach.net, franchising101podcast.net. Also, don't forget if you just like to do this thing called read, franchisingnews.net. Everything with us is .net. Reach out, francoach.net when you're ready. And what are you waiting for to set up that first call with us? There's never any fee. So if you are ready, let's talk. Let's help you create your better tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk with you next week.